What's up, internet? How about never paying for fuel again with this 2019 Hyundai Kona EV? It gets over 400 kilometers of electric range. It's in absolutely incredible condition and it's jammed with features. I'm going to take you on a tour of this Kona right now. All right, so looking at this 2019 Kona EV, there's one thing you're going to have to know. If you're buying an electric vehicle, you are going to have to be passionate about talking about electric vehicles, because there's one thing I do know. Vegans, CrossFitters, and electric vehicle owners, my gosh, do we like to talk. I'm an EV owner myself. I absolutely love telling everybody about them and explaining how incredible they are, and obviously debunking all the crazy myths that you hear about EVs, people being stranded. Oh, what if I get trapped on the highway in a snowstorm? What if I want to drive to New York tomorrow, but I forgot to charge? A lot of this stuff, guys, just common sense. Now, let's talk about this. We're going to take you on an exterior and interior tour. We're going to talk about all the great features. We're going to talk about the EV powertrain and how that all operates. And we're also going to give you, kind of a tour of the condition of this Kona as well. It has just over 90,000 kilometers, which really means nothing when we're talking about an electric vehicle. I'll kind of explain that as we go along. But hit pause here, go grab a coffee, grab a bag of chips, whatever you like. This is not going to be a short video because I'm going to go through this entire car. Now, if you want to skip past the EV explanation, just fast forward probably 4 or 5 minutes and you'll get to the actual walk around of this vehicle. So for everybody who's new to the EV world, let's talk about it. The EV does not have any oil or any kind of parts that need to be maintained other than the brakes. But the drivetrain itself is pretty much self-reliant. Now, we have a 64 kilowatt hour battery pack on the Kona. To give you a direct comparison to the Tesla Model 3 long range, which I drive, the Model 3 has a 54 or 56, I can't recall, it's not much of a difference, 54 to 56 kilowatt hour battery pack. This has a 64. That's why this actually gets longer range than a Model 3. Now, we have a 150 kilowatt electric motor attached to that 64 kilowatt hour battery pack. Okay, so we don't say engine, we don't say anything like that in EVs. It's all electric motors or battery packs. But that 64 kilowatt hour battery pack connected to that 150 kilowatt electric motor is what's driving this Kona. Now, you can get all-wheel drive electric vehicles. This is not one. This just has one electric motor. But again, the size of the vehicle, the way that this thing is spec'd out, and the fact that EVs, with their extremely sensitive and very well controlled throttle, means you have the ultimate control of this vehicle. Now, I mentioned to you it has 90,000 kilometers and why that shouldn't be of any concern to you. And the reason is because electric vehicles do not wear and tear like a gas engine. When you have a gas engine, you have those pistons, you have combustions, you have fire, literally in the engine, that explosion, the combustions of the engine. All of those things wear and tear on the cylinders, on the way that gas engine is built. Electric motors, nothing of the sort. So you kind of have to throw out the fact that it has 90,000 K, except for exterior and interior condition. And then really, obviously just brakes and things like that. But speaking of brakes, let's talk about how we charge an EV. Charging an EV, oh my gosh, guys, all the myths and craziness that you hear, throw it out the window. Take it from me. I have owned an electric vehicle for 90,000 kilometers. Okay, I've never come close to draining my battery in this situation where I'm like, oh my God, I've got to panic. Hold on one second. Just park her there. We're good. Sorry, just got to direct some traffic. I've never come close to a situation where I've even really gotten to a point where I was panicky. And the reason being, first and foremost, there are chargers everywhere. We have 2 chargers here. We have a level 2 and a level 2.5 at the side of the building. I'll explain that. Hyundai has like 3 chargers. The Toyota store has a bunch. That Hotel Holiday Inn Express has 2 chargers. They're all over the place. Yes, I realize these are car dealers, but hotels right now have chargers. Every single en route in Ontario has level 3 fast chargers. So if you ran out of juice in this EV, you are ignoring every single warning system, every single charger, and just I won't explain what you're doing other than saying you're just being a moron. It ain't gonna happen. It's so hard to do that. Now, let's talk about the level charging. Level 1 is the charger that comes with this vehicle that you plug into a regular house outlet. It would take like 48 hours to charge this battery pack. And you're going, well, that's not bloody convenient. You're right, it's not. That's not the way you charge a Kona. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get a level 2 charger off of Amazon. They range from $400 to $1,200. Just depends on what kind of features you want. And then you plug that into a 240 volt outlet, 50 amp, usually 45 amp, whatever you like, in your garage. You'll have to get that wired up. Could be $600 to $1,200 depending on how much wiring you need. Get a professional electrician to do that. Then you go to a level 2 charger. So level 2 will charge anywhere between 6 to 9 kilowatt hours per hour. So what that means is if you got a 64 kilowatt hour battery pack, you can put 9 kilowatt hours back in per hour. Just do the math. You're looking at, 6, 7, 8 hours maybe to charge it. That's if you run it to empty. You would never run it to empty. So you're probably talking a 4 to 5 hour charge if you're doing a long, like 300, 350 kilometer commute kind of thing, right? So overnight charging. Now, the way that the Kona is set up, you can schedule your charges so it only charges on off-peak hours. So you're not getting dinged for huge kilowatt hour electricity bills. It'll only charge in off-peak, which obviously saves you a ton of money that way. So that is the scheduled level 2 charging. That's your everyday home use charging. You only charge to 90%. You don't go to 100% every day. Save that 100% for when you're going on long trips. The reason why you do that is you don't want to heat up that battery pack any more than it has to. So that 90% charging every day is where you want to go. Want to go on a long trip? Go to 100, no big deal. Need to go to 100 the next day? No big deal. The next day, no big deal. Just don't do it to 100 every single day, all day, every week, every month. That's not great for your battery health. It's not going to do, it's not going to deteriorate the battery incredibly. It's just not advised, not recommended. Now, level 3 charging, which is that fast charging or that supercharging as us Tesla guys like to call it, this will actually charge to 80% in anywhere from 50 to 55 minutes on a level 3 charger. That's 100 kilowatt hour chargers. Kind of makes sense. It'll charge up in less than an hour. So if you don't need a full battery charge when you're on a road trip, guess what? Don't charge. Don't charge all the way. Just go plug in for 15, 20 minutes at a level 3 charger and then continue your trip. Go in, go to the washroom, grab a coffee, and head out. That's why these things are so practical, because you're going to stop on a long trip anyway. So stop, get a quick charge, and boogie on your way. How much is that charge going to cost you? I don't know, $6 to $10 at the very most. How much is a full tank of gas charge cost you right now? $80? I mean, it's ridiculous, right? Now, last but not least, battery maintenance. Let's talk about that really quickly. Battery maintenance, don't let me forget, regen braking. Battery maintenance. So the Kona has a system built in here that you can precondition the battery, meaning you can warm up the battery in the winter months, all from the Kona's computer system on the inside or using the Hyundai BlueLink app, which you get on your phone. And that will warm up your battery while it's still connected to the house charger, so that way when you get in, you have that ideal maximum range in cold climate. If you do not preheat your battery in a cold climate, it will probably take away 30% of your battery. Not degrade it in the sense of damage it, but it just for that drive, it won't heat up enough and it will take away around 30% of that battery, so you can no longer get your 400 kilometers range. You're going to be 330, 350, whatever it might be. So just use the preconditioning, warm up your battery correctly, and then get on your drive. It's all really kind of automated in the vehicle. And if you forget, or maybe let's say, you go to grandma's house and you're there for a few hours, just jump on the UVO app, or not UVO, that's Kia. Jump on the BlueLink app and precondition the car before you leave grandma's house. It will take a lot less battery power to precondition it before you drive than to try to heat up that battery as you're driving. So take it from me, that I have made that mistake before, thinking it would be the better way. It is definitely not. All right. Regenerative braking, that's the last thing I want to talk about with the EV powertrain. So regenerative braking, very, very simple concept to understand. Your electric motor propels the vehicle forwards. When you let off the accelerator pedal and now you're coasting without any power assist, guess what we can do? We can take that electric motor and throw it in reverse, take that cycle and charge the battery pack back up. That is regenerative braking. And what that means is that you have 3 levels of regenerative braking that you can manually control on the Kona, very neat, just with paddle shifters behind the wheel. You can control it from, we're gonna call it low, medium, and high. The low setting really kind of drives and operates like a regular vehicle. You won't really feel it regen braking. It's just kind of natural. Medium, you're gonna feel when you let off the accelerator that it's gonna, you know, give you a little bit of resistance. It's gonna slow down a little bit quicker than you would perhaps feel in a gas car. Now, the high regenerative braking, which is what I would always use, I much prefer it, does two things. It, of course, charges up that battery as much as possible using the regen, but secondly, it allows you to drive with just the accelerator pedal for the most part. The feeling of that regen when you let off the pedal, if you just let off the accelerator all the way, it's gonna feel like you're braking the car. And that's kind of the point, because the maximum regen setting on this vehicle allows you to just use the accelerator and kind of feather off the accelerator in the speed in which you want to brake. It's almost like a reverse brake, right? So the faster you let off, the quicker it slows down. The slower you let off, the smoother it slows down. And that's the idea between one pedal driving, is that you can use that accelerator pedal to almost be like your gas, or not gas, can't say gas, your acceleration and your braking. And that is one of those things that you can really kind of get used to driving very quickly. It's not as confusing or as intimidating as it sounds. But of course, if you don't like the feel of that, just change it and put it to the lower, the medium setting. All right, that has been a lot longer than 2 or 3 minutes. We're 11 minutes in, but now you understand the Coles Notes version of how an EV vehicle works. Let's dive into this specific Kona. We've talked about the EV features. Let's talk about what we're looking at up front here. So underneath the hood is the electric motor. Some vehicles come with a frunk or front trunk. This one does not. The electric motor is under there with all the orange high voltage wiring. So not even gonna get into showing you that. You just don't need to open it up. Maintenance on an EV, windshield wipers, windshield washer fluid, and brakes. But again, the brakes you don't use as much. If you regen brake, it uses the electric motor. So guess what? The extended brake life on an EV, if you choose the high regen braking, is incredible. You're gonna get tons of brake life. LED headlights up front, LED fog lights down there on the sides on this Ultimate model. You can see a little bit different front end on the EVs because we don't need a grill to cool down any gas engines. So we have this nice fancier looking grill. Now we've got the charging port up front here. You give that a push and you can see here, this is your level 2 charging, and then your third one here for your fast charging. It's kind of a different plug. It's called the CCS plug, or just the regular plug, or the 240 volt for when you're at home. Close that back up, walk around. Now this is actually on, right? So I don't know if you noticed, it's dead quiet, obviously. There's no gas engine clunking around. Coming around the side, you can see these aerodynamic wheels, and these are 17-inch wheels. They are aerodynamically designed. You can see there's very, very, very little air inlets there, and that's to give better airflow down the side of the vehicle. Makes it a little bit more aerodynamic, which of course means better electric efficiency. Can't say fuel economy because it's not fuel economy. Now, hatchback design, very, very tall. So it is a cool looking kind of crossover hatchback design, which a lot of people love. You sit up nice and high in the Kona. Coming around the rear, we have LED taillights as well. We have this beautiful reflector on the back, and then taking a step back to give you a much better, clearer view of how it looks on the rear. Nice hatchback, electric down there. Let's pop open the tailgate. We have lots of room here, including that cargo cover and a 60/40 split folding seat. Here is your, again, regular plug that you would plug in to an outlet and charge over the next 3.5 days or whatever it is. You're not gonna really need to use this. This is kind of your emergency setup for, I don't even know, maybe you go to the cottage and you just plug it in at the cottage over, you know, the weekend. That's kind of a good use for that. But yeah, this is just kind of the emergency situation. Here's an idea of what that plug looks like there. Carpeted mats there as well. Let's close this up. Never even thought of that. That's actually not a bad thing to have if you're going to the cottage, because you're not going to install an EV charger there. It kind of seems like maybe a bit of a waste of money. Coming around the passenger side, everything looks fantastic. The vehicle condition is excellent. 90,000 K, but you would never have a clue. It just looks fantastic on the outside. I'm trying to even just find like a stone chip or something to show you that this has been used, but yeah, I guess here's 1 or 2 stone chips here on the front hood, right? But I mean, it's in great shape. Now let's go take a look at the rear seats here. Oh, look, I found something. Here, right here, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little, just very, very minute little door crease there, probably just from a door ding. Somebody opened it up a little quick. Back seats. In this Ultimate model, we do have leather perforated seats. They look fantastic back here. We have an armrest. Taking a whiff, definitely a non-smoker vehicle. Smells fantastic back here. That's always important to know. Front seat. Ignore my little notes that I have there. I didn't need it. I remember all this stuff. We've got the leather perforated seating in the front, and the seats look in great shape. No rips, tears, stains, burns. Up top, we've got a sunroof up here. Power sunroof, of course, let in a little bit of daylight. We've got a power driver's seat with power lumbar support. And then we do have an Infinity upgraded audio system in the Ultimate model. So I believe we've got 9 speakers in here. Sounds great. And let's hop in. Now let's talk about the fact that I need to move this seat back. All right, there we go. Let's talk about the safety features while we're sitting here. We kind of forgot to cover that. That's about the only thing we forgot to cover. Catching everything with the kitchen sink. So looking down here at our driver's knee, we have the blind spot warning. And that is up here in the side view mirror. You can see the little icon on the top left there. We've got blind spot warning. We have lane keeping assist, right? So that's going to keep you centered up in your lanes and keep the vehicle nice and snug in the lanes in case maybe you have a little bit of distraction or you're getting a little bit tired. We have a heads up display. I'll show you that in a sec. And then we have our automatic, this button here is for that automatic charger. As we were mentioning, how you can kind of set it up as a schedule. I guess that's just to turn it on or off. It's kind of a redundant button because it's over here as well. Anyway, I digress. I don't know if you can see this, right? But in here, right there, you can see that little, it might be flashing 0. It's not flashing. It's the frame rate of the camera. It's always on. That is your heads up display. That displays your speed, your radio, and a couple other cool settings there. But that is a heads up display that you can either have on, or if you'd like, you can turn it off. And this kind of folds and goes down into the dash. Nice little system there. But that's kind of a cool, convenient little feature that they've added to some vehicles just by kind of sliding it in the dash, which is nice. Now we have a leather heated steering wheel up front here. We have our volume and radio controls and Bluetooth controls, our cruise controls. On the other side, it is adaptive cruise. Adaptive cruise uses the forward radar, and it measures the distance between you and the car in front and will keep a cruising speed that is a safe distance from the car in front, but then when that car moves out of the way, it goes back up to the cruising speed that you set. Now that reminds me, we do have forward emergency braking with forward collision warning. So obviously using that same radar, if traffic is slowing down or you're just not paying attention and something is stopped in front of you, it will alert you and grab the brakes, can bring it right to a stop if it needs to hopefully avoid a collision in front. Obviously, that being said, it's not perfect. It's not gonna, can't be something stop at 60 kilometers an hour and something dead stopped in front. It might hit it, but it's definitely gonna avoid a full force impact, which is obviously fantastic for safety. And, hopefully, cross your fingers, it just avoids the whole accident altogether, which is great. We've got a rear cross traffic alert. So as you're backing out, it is looking down the sides of the vehicle at the rear. So if there's traffic coming or kids or bikes or whatever, it will warn you in the dash to say, hey, take a look, stop, there's people coming. Our controls for our nice digital screen is up here. So you can see in the screen, this speedometer here. And then we have this, and this is kind of a gauge to show you how aggressive you're driving or how much throttle input you're putting into it. And obviously you can play the game of kind of trying to keep it into, for lack of a better term, an economical mode, right? You can see it gives you your stats over here is how economical you're driving, aggressive, normal, etc. Just to kind of give you an idea. There is your battery gauge over here. What I love is that that's the range, 348 kilometers. That's the battery. That's it. They're not putting a ton of stuff in your face to scare the living daylights out of you. It is just a nice, simple, hey, that's what you got left. Just like your cell phone. How much battery you got left? That's what it is there. It's nothing in your face to scare you. That is super important. You do not need range anxiety, because with 400 kilometers of range, my gosh, you're not going to run out of juice. You'd really, really, again, have to do something pretty silly for that to happen. Now, let's talk about our beautiful upgraded in the Ultimate model. Let me just flip these down so it's not in our speaker or mic. So we have an upgraded touchscreen infotainment system here. You can see it's a split screen mode, our Navi on one side and then our other stuff on the other. We can touch on the nav and then it just obviously, and then it will open up to a much larger view. We can go back here. You can see the EV screen, which is going to show you how many or how far you can drive with the battery you have left. It kind of gives you a neat little map view. And what that allows you to say is, okay, so I need to go here. Do I have enough range? I do, because it's in the blue, right? Do I, is there stuff out here? Okay, well, then I'm gonna have to charge up somewhere. It also gives you a lot of the charging stations as it was at the current time. There are much better apps on your phone to give you real-time information if, you know, maybe one charger is down or things like that. Even sometimes it'll tell you if there's chargers in use at the station you have coming up. So, I mean, all the apps you can get for electric vehicles now, it's incredible. Let's go back to that EV screen really quickly. It shows you kind of what we're charging up to. So the max charge is 100%. We could change that down to 90. We only want to charge to 90 all the time. Here's your charge, right? So we can set the departure times, like I mentioned. So if you leave at 8 o'clock in the morning every day, it will charge up to make sure the car is ready to go by 8. And you can even have the climate control adjust the climate of the car by 8 o'clock. So that way when you get in, it's nice and warm or cooled off. And while we're doing that, we're only using the power from the house. We're not using the battery power, which is of course extending your range. Flipping it back over here, we do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto all aboard. You plug in, all this screen completely changes. It allows you to access all of your mobile apps on your phone. It allows you to reply back to text messages using your voice command, which is for me the #1 feature. And then you get Spotify, Waze, all your digital music, all that cool stuff with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, very important to have. Now, before I show you the rear view camera, I think it's probably important to note two other things. Your buttons down the side, so you don't always have to use touchscreen, and a manual volume control here. A lot of people still want the dial. They don't want anything in the screen. So yes, it has both. Now let's just quickly bypass this. Here's your climate control. All right, cool. Climate control, dual zone, or no, single zone, pardon me. No, dual zone, I'm not lying. Dual zone climate control, but you can also, oops, sorry, I was looking up here. Dual zone climate control, but it also has driver only mode. Driver only mode will actually extend your battery life again because it only focuses on keeping the driver at the ideal temperature, not both sides. That's an important feature to use in this vehicle when it's only you driving. It will really give you an extra couple kilometers of range, which is nice. Now our shifter is a button style shifter. This is, I think, nice and clean. There's a couple of different ways we could have done this. This one is a nice and clean setup. It's just push on the brake. You got drive, you got reverse, you got park, and of course you got neutral. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. When I put it in reverse, we've got a nice clear rear view camera up top here, and then put it back in park, and away it goes. We also have an electronic parking brake, which is great, but more importantly, it does feature auto hold. Auto hold, what that means is when you let your foot off of the brake pedal, or when you come into a complete stop using the one pedal accelerator, if you want to do it that way, it will hold the Kona in position at a dead stop until you push the accelerator. It releases that electronic parking brake, and away you go. The ultimate features heated seats, but also ventilated seats, so it will run the air conditioning through the seat to keep you nice and cool. Fun fact, this is actually a more economical way to keep yourself cool or hot than using the air conditioning system. So if you want to extend your range, turn the air conditioning or heating down and use these to get yourself to the right temperature. It actually give you a couple more kilometers of range. Drive mode, talk about that in a second. Here's our heated steering wheel and our parking sensors at the back. So drive mode, let's look at that up in the dash. Let's zoom in here real quick. So when I hit drive mode, you're gonna see it goes from normal, sport, eco, and you're gonna see that range changing, right? So there it's got normal drive mode, the range is in the middle. Now you can see it went to 339 for sport and then 347 for eco, right? So depending on what mode you have it in, this real-time updates you on the range you're gonna get. And of course, it will continue to update you as you drive, depending on what mode you're driving in, and of course, how fast you're driving. And even when you put it in driver mode only for the air conditioning and heating, it'll even update the kilometers there as well. So like I say, I mean, if you ran out of juice in this vehicle with everything that is built in, with all of the tips that I've given you, which are very few, I mean, you would have to be ignoring every single system in this vehicle in order to do that. And at that point, I'm gonna make a bold statement, you probably deserve it. you probably deserve it. You could have got off, you could have charged, you could have preheated your battery, you could have done a number of things. But hey, listen, so long as you use the system, so long as you watch the gauges as if you were driving on a long trip with your fuel gauge, this is going to be a fantastic choice. 90,000 kilometers, pristine condition, over 400 kilometers of range, and you'll never ever have to pay for fuel again. Carbon tax, all that crap, who cares? Don't worry about it. This will cost you, I bet you, on an average charge, let's say you're charging half the battery every day because that's your commute, it's going to cost you, I don't know, 67 cents, $1.30 maybe to charge, maybe if you're lucky. What you can expect is to pay 1 cent, just 0.01 cent per kilometer. That means you could drive 100 kilometers in this Kona for $1. Find me a gas car that gets even close to that. Think of that, right? 100 kilometers for $1. Unbelievable value. This is an incredible find, and it is right here at Clarington Kia. If you'd like to purchase this Kona, and I suggest you do, claringtonkia.ca, or you can come to our showroom, you can take this out for a drive. You'll absolutely fall in love. I just hope it's still here when you call. So thanks so much for watching. It's 26 minutes in. If you're still with us, thank you. I love EVs. Come by, chat with me about EVs anytime. I'd love to talk to you about that. Just don't ask me about CrossFit. I don't like working out, except for my mouth. All right, guys, talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.